I am all about budget, and this series is absolutely no different. I've got some cash to spend, but rather than go out and just buy loads of things, use all the cash, go back down to zero, same with the credit really, I like to spread it out a bit and only spend cash here or there where I see good deals. And my local CEX have had an awful lot of things traded in recently, and it's been quite a while since I've taken a look around there. I know that's pretty much all I do on the channel, and I have spoke about that recently, but I love doing it, and as I haven't been into my local CEX in quite a while, I thought I would have a little look around and see if there's anything that I can pick up that I can potentially flip and pick up some bargains to put into the collection. So it's been that long since I've been in this CEX. They've changed around almost the entire downstairs. I didn't actually go upstairs today. It was really not busy, but it was wet outside. I just wanted to go home, one of those situations. So having a little look around, and I thought, right, PS4 is a good place to start. This is where 4K and Blu-ray used to be, but I was mainly looking for any exclusives that I don't currently have that I'm maybe looking to pick up. Days Gone, I think a lot of people were hoping that Days Gone 2 was going to get announced at State of Play. Didn't happen. That's State of Play, by the way. If you've seen it, let me know what you think of it in the comments, because I was very underwhelmed. Some decent stuff, don't get me wrong, some games I actually wouldn't mind playing, but yeah, from a big first party point of view, there was nothing that really wowed me, unfortunately. But anyway, I'm looking for Steelbooks. There is another, as I picked that up, there is another one of those Ghost games coming out. It looked decent, if I'm honest, but that was the only game there that was like, wow, that looks insane. So, looking for Steelbooks, looking for slipcovers, and of course for my collection, looking for not the only on PlayStation stuff necessarily, but just anything exclusive that I don't have that is cheap enough that I can pick up. This is somewhat of a budget buy episode. I am going to spend very little on individual games. I have picked up some sort of bigger items, if you will. Spent quite a lot of cash and credit in here, actually. This really did sort of catch my eye, and it's because it had the word marathon in it. I've got absolutely no idea what that game is. Nippon Marathon, no idea. I think it's some sort of Japanese take on a marathon. It's not an actual just running simulator, which I would love, by the way, if they could invent that, or not invent, but you know what I mean, if they could make that. That would be phenomenal. I would love a marathon running game, much like the Tour de France games, but that for running, essentially. Unfortunately, I didn't find anything, spoiler alert, in the PS4 section that I thought would be worth picking up. Not one single Steelbook. Now, I often find like the Hitman Steelbooks that are just not worth picking up to flip or even put into your collection, if I'm honest. But I didn't even find that today. So very slim pickings when it comes to Steelbooks on the PlayStation 4. Now I was thinking maybe they've put them behind the counter. I mentioned this recently in a video that CEX have started, or at least mine have anyway, have started to put Steelbooks behind the counter, even if they're not really worth an awful lot. They have a Mass Effect 3 like special edition. It's not really a Steelbook necessarily, but it's like a big box, if you will, on the Xbox 360. It's about 15 quid. It's not like anything special or anything. It's decent looking, but it's behind the till. And they have like a Halo Steelbook again on the original Xbox. It's not worth an awful lot. I think it's under a tenner, but it's behind the till. And they're doing that an awful lot more recently. It's a shame that they started doing it, although I do understand why. However, I did find a Steelbook, interestingly enough. This is Chivalry 2 on the Xbox One/Series X. It was only £3. Now, my understanding of this is an online only game. I've got no idea whether this is online only or not. I'm pretty sure this is a first person, like medieval type game where it's very realistic combat kind of situation for the time anyway. And I'm almost certain there is a very like hardcore community behind it as well. I remember seeing something somewhere that there's like some really big enthusiasts who play this game. I went ahead and bought this for £3. Now I don't actually intend on playing it, but I wanted it for I didn't want it for the collection either. Although I will say, the Steelbook itself is actually quite nice. It's in perfect condition and it comes with loads of leaflets with codes. Now obviously I don't know if the codes have been used or not. The only way to find out is to input them. I can't be bothered to do that. However, I would imagine, given how nice the condition is of this, it was probably not used that much, if at all. I think someone probably bought it not knowing what it was, popped it into the console, tried it for maybe 20 minutes and gave up on it because it just wasn't their thing. I may try it. However, the main reason I've bought this is because I think I can flip it for a tenner on Vinted. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to picture it up as if I was selling it, as if I bought it to flip it. However, when I put it on Vinted, I'm not going to take offers, it's going to go for a tenner or it doesn't go at all. And in the meantime, it's going to go in the collection. And if it never sells and it stays in the collection forevermore, so be it, because it's a really nice steelbook. And I'm not a big fan of art necessarily, although I do like pretty looking things, and I would say that that is a pretty nice looking steelbook as far as steelbooks go. Now this back wall used to be where Xbox 360 was. Picked up a Deadpool, that is way outside of my budget and what I'm willing to pay for it. That is coming right down in price now though, and the reason for that of course is because the film is sort of long gone at this point. Cricket game there from 2017, only £2. Classic budget buy. To be fair, I was very tempted to pick it up if I'm honest, because I don't like cricket by any stretch of the imagination. I would never watch it. However, cricket games, much like rugby, maybe would give that a go. Never seen that game before in my life. It's not the Crossroads Fast and Furious, it's the other one, I guess. I've no idea if it's any good. I'm guessing it isn't, because anything Fast and Furious past maybe Tokyo Drift probably isn't very good at all. This has now gone up to £8. There's actually been a bit of a shift on the Xbox in the last day or two as well. Some price changes going on. There were actually quite a few games that had gone up and down in price. And I tell you what, my memory is awful. So the night before I went here, so yesterday, I was looking at the CEX app. It was like 2 in the morning, right? I'm looking at the CEX app and I'm like, oh, that's come down, and I might pick that up. And I'm thinking about all the games that I actually want to pick up and that I am going to pick up, right? And when I go into the store, my mind goes completely blank. I forget everything I know about myself. I don't even know my own name. And I'm just wandering around like a fool. The camera work here is a bit dodgy. I'm stood sort of looking to see where I can move to, because there's 2 people next to me, students from what I can tell, talking about games, and they're sort of edging it ever closer to me, and I had to wait a long time for them to move. They were back and forth on the counter asking questions about whether this game, that game, and this game would work on the Series S, and they couldn't get it into their head that the Series S didn't have a disk drive. Anyway, this is another Steelbook. Now, unfortunately here, this is just too overpriced. It's Company of Heroes 3. I'm having a look at it, and I really do like the idea of the game, although I've never played it, and I did put it down quite quickly. But when I went back around again, I did look at it properly. They wanted 28 for it, but it's on Amazon for 30. And of course, that isn't going to stay at 30 for long, and we're not that... Okay, we are quite 2 months away, right? But Black Friday is not that far away, really. I mean, if you're desperate for a game, 2 months is a long time. If you're not that desperate to play it, I imagine anyway it'll be available in some sort of Black Friday deal. Now, I don't get to look at the entire PlayStation 5 games here because, again, there was a guy hovering and I think I was in his way. So I moved out of his way because I am a kind soul, and because I thought, well, I'm not going to buy a PlayStation 5 game anyway, so what do I care? I went over to the 360 section and I picked up, well, quite a few games. So rather than dive back into CEX to have a little flick through the 360, I'm just going to show you my very first pickup here. And this is a game I don't see very often at all, although it is on the cheap side. And this often gets bashed by people I see talk about 360 games, and it did back in the day as well. It is Eat Lead, The Return of Matt Hazard. This is a clone of a few things, so it has basically the gameplay system of a Gears of War. It's a third-person, run-and-gun, cover system type game that doesn't always work that well as far as I can remember. I always used to find it frustrating that he wouldn't stick to cover, and things that you think he can actually hide behind, you stand there for ages trying to hide behind it and he just will not cover against it. That was quite frustrating as far as I can remember. But it's very Duke Nukem-esque in the one-liners and the voice. It's almost like you're playing as Beetlejuice who thinks he's Duke Nukem.
You should get out of here.
Way ahead of you. Lead straight home, which is where I'm going to stay until this blows over. The missus always said she had a bad feeling about me working here. Too many barrels.
Tell Karen I said hello.
I will. Leatherman, give him hell!
So Gears of War gameplay, but with a Beetlejuice voice trying to be a little bit like Duke Nukem. It is a really fun game that doesn't take itself too seriously whatsoever. It does absolutely have some frustrating elements to it as far as I can remember, although I do feel as though the fun outweighs the sort of frustration here. Now I haven't played this game for about 15 years if I'm honest, so I'm going off pure memory, but I do remember having some laughs with it, and I am a big Duke Nukem fan, so any sort of half clone of that is always a win in my book, and there are some really solid voice actors in here as well. I don't actually have the craziest amount of footage here because they've moved the Xbox 360 where Xbox One was. However, a lot of the games are not even out here, so most of the games I pick up are actually on the ready to go shelf. I just saw a game I wanted and I forgot to pick up. It's not Dark Void. I don't have this. I did think about it if I'm honest, but it'll stick around there I'm sure for quite a while, and I'll do it another pickup video where I'll probably get that, another budget video I should say, where I'll pick that up. Now I do actually have a solid sort of 5 titles, one of which is not a huge mistake, but it is definitely a mistake. There's a Spider-Man over there. £18, it's up from 15 fairly recently. I think I mentioned that not that long ago if I'm honest. But now seems as good a time as any to talk about the mistake. Like I said, it's not a massive mistake to the point where I'm like down 25 quid or anything, but I've bought a game I already own. When it comes to playing through a series of games, I don't want to start one until I know I have the other. Or if I have the second, obviously I don't want to play that before I play the first. And I couldn't remember which one I had, so I ended up buying both. And I say that as if I fully remember that I had one. A part of me was like, I'm sure I have one of these, but I can't remember which one it was. So I'll go with the first one, which is Prince of Persia, which is titled, well, just Prince of Persia. £2.50 on that. I do like the art style of this game, and I do remember playing them a fair bit back in the day and enjoying them, and I couldn't remember which one I owned because I believe there are only 2 on the 360 if memory serves. And it turns out this is the one that I owned. And when I got home and I had a look on my shelf, I was like, of course. Like I said, my brain just goes to mush when I walk into CEX for some reason. So I now have 2 copies of Prince of Persia. Mine isn't actually in as good a condition as this is, so I might swap out the disc or the manual or whatever I can sort of Frankenstein together to make the best version. I think this one that I've just picked up is in better condition, full stop really. But £2.50 wasted almost on that. I will try and sell it on. I don't think I'm going to bother trying to take it back. I don't know if there's any point whether they'll accept it or not. But yeah, I made a mistake there. But obviously that does mean that I've picked up Prince of Persia Forgotten Sands. Thought I was going to hit myself in the face with that. £3.50 spent on that one. Again, this is complete. The one that I've been picking up in CEX recently has been the one covered in gravy. Or was that Call of Juarez? There was a Prince of Persia Forgotten Sands that was in terrible condition, and that's the reason why I haven't been buying it, because I kept thinking to myself, that's the Prince of Persia I need. And like I said, when I go into CEX, my brain falls out my head and I don't know what I'm doing. So I ended up buying both of them. Again, every game here that I buy, complete with a manual. Not that I'm one of these, I have to have the manual completionist type people. Although, if the option is there, and there's 3 or 4 cases on the shelf in CEX, I will flick through to see which one is in the best condition, which one has the manual, etc. And I may or may not decide to leave a game there if it doesn't have a manual, if it's over a certain price. 3 games to go though, and what 3 games they are, kind of. I mean, 2 of them are, I don't know, maybe one of them.
You'll like them. Well, some of them. Well, one of them. Maybe.
So Syndicate there for £5. I remember seeing that in the boot sale not that long ago, and I just didn't buy it despite the fact that it was only £1. What an idiot. Then I saw Splinter Cell. So I bought Splinter Cell. Now this was a game that frustrated me when I first played it because I hate stealth. And yes, I know Splinter Cell is stealth. I get it, right? But at the time, I just didn't think it through properly. This was just £2.50, which obviously matches the budget aspect that we're going for here. I'm trying to keep the money down as much as possible, although I do end up spending £20 here. Although I am looking to recoup some of that with Chivalry. If I can recoup £10 of it, that's a £7 profit, meaning everything's only really cost me 13, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But yeah, as I remember, this was quite frustrating back in the day because I hate stealth, because I'm just not very good at it. I panic and I don't like it. Although I do remember finishing this, if memory serves. I'm pretty sure I bought the special edition of this. I think there was a figure. I used to buy the special edition of everything, and not because I was rich or anything. Obviously I worked in a video game store, I had a discount, but I was just an idiot and I just had FOMO every single time I saw a special edition. So long story short, £2.50 spent. Will I play it again? Yes, but not for a while. But I'm glad I've got it because I like collecting things. 2 games left to speak of, and one of them is not South Park Stick of Truth. This is a really not complicated, but it's one of those tricky things. I want to play through both, or rather 3 of the South Park games that are now available. Stick of Truth, Fractured But Whole, and that Snow Day one, the newest one. However, I don't really want to get it on the 360. I want it on the Xbox One, but it is starting to go up in price quite considerably, and I just don't ever see it. So I really don't know what to do with regards to that, because my CEX do have Fractured But Whole on the Xbox One now as well, and it's just come down to a $5, and I really want to play through it, but that's the second one, and we've already spoken about this when it comes to Prince of Persia. I need to play the first one first, and I've only played the Stick of Truth on PC for about half an hour when it first came out, and I don't know, I was going through that period of I don't really care about video games unless I can record them and upload them kind of thing. But now that I don't care about that and I just want to play it for the sake of playing it, I don't know what to do. Would you get it on the 360 and just play through it? If you've played through both, maybe the PS3 and the PS4 or Xbox 360 and Xbox versions, is there much difference in graphics and the way that it plays? Is load time really an issue there? That's what I'm more worried about than anything else, whether I can actually get through it without getting frustrated about load times, or maybe the graphics are a bit janky or something. So the next game, the penultimate game, if you will, is a game that I know many of you are going to want me to talk about for hours. It is Football Manager 2006. Why have you bought it? I have unbelievably fond memories of this game. Most of you will know by now I am a huge football fan and I love manager games. I love FIFA and EAFC as well, but manager games are the pinnacle of football video games. Now they are far better on the PC than they ever have and indeed will be on console, but there's just something about going through a career on a manager game on a console that I find charming more than anything else. So the story behind this £2.50 Football Manager 2006 game is that I bought it in Asda when it first came out. It was £45, I took it home and I played it for about half an hour, and I decided I don't like this. I still want to play my championship manager, if you will, on the PC. I don't like using a controller. The load times are quite painful, and it's just not fun to navigate with a controller compared to a mouse. It's just so much easier. So I tried to take it back and they refused. No, you can't. You've taken it, you've opened it, you've played it, you can't bring it back. And I can understand, now I can understand, then I was fuming, but I can understand why they wouldn't want me to return it, right? Maybe I've beaten it and for all they know I'm just trying to get my money back because I've played it and finished it. But the actual case was I just didn't like it. But anyway, tough stuff, right? So I went home and I sulked for a bit, and it probably wasn't the same day. It was probably quite a few days after, maybe it was even a couple of weeks later. I popped it in again and I started playing it and I started to enjoy it to the point where I thought, hang on, this is a good game, and I loved it. Now, despite the fact that I've pumped hours into this thing, I don't actually have that many achievements. Whether they're difficult to get or whether I just didn't do the right things or not, I'm not sure. So I'm actually looking forward to going back through it. And the beauty of manager games, I like going back and looking at the old databases, having to look to see who Liverpool have, trying to build the modern team, if you will, although I don't think we're getting to that point now where I don't think I'm going to be able to build the modern team. But you know what I mean? I can go out and buy Zlatan when he wasn't particularly very good, or Fernando Torres before he became a sensation. Really looking forward to it. £2.50. That is actually the cheapest manager game you can get on the 360. Some of them, Football Manager 2008, is a pretty damn expensive game. The next and final game is a little bit on topic, and one of the reasons why I picked it up is because it's kind of on topic. It's not that I want to jump on it before the price goes up. I think if it was going to go up, it would have. The reason I've picked it up is because the newer one looks very good. However, I need to play the first one first. Now, I have actually played this a little bit. I picked it up when it first came out on the Xbox 360, and that game is Dragon's Dogma. So I picked up Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. Now, they are the same game. This has all of the expansion, the DLC and all that stuff. extra dungeons and things. Now, I did play the original when it first came out, and I kind of half got to grips with it. I did a bit, and then I kind of went off the boil with it and just stopped playing. I think I was looking for some sort of Skyrim clone. I absolutely loved Skyrim, and I played through it very nearly got 1,000 points off it. The reason I didn't is because I cocked up one achievement. It was missable, and well, I missed it. But I played it, and I loved it, and I wanted it to continue. But rather than just start the game again and play through it again, which for some reason in my mind I couldn't do that, I went and picked up a game that I thought would be quite similar, and to a certain extent, you know, dungeon crawling, I guess. It kind of is in a way, but it's not in another way, and I couldn't get into it as well as I got into Skyrim, despite the fact that there are like big bosses to defeat, much like Skyrim. But yeah, I'm going to give that another go, because the newer one looks pretty damn good. It is available on the Xbox Series X for $32, it's on PlayStation 5 for $38, so just a little bit of a price gap there. And I am, of course, going to wait until that comes right down in price. I am not spending £30+ on a game that I know is probably going to go to Game Pass at some point and just completely plummet in price, or will just drop in price over time anyway, because it is a fairly new release. £32. I mean, it's not a lot to spend on a game, I know that. New releases are like 70, 80, 90, 100 if you buy the Ultimate Edition of FIFA or EAFC, for example. It's going to run you like 90 quid, right? But if you've played Dragon's Dogma, whether it be the sort of DLC Dark Arisen version, or whether it's just the bog standard version, or whether you've played the newer version, let me know in the comments. The other thing to mention, of course, is that this actually has an Xbox One release. So it might have been a good idea for me to not buy this and to buy the Xbox One version, because as far as I can remember, this did have some sort of load issues, some pop in here or there when it comes to the characters. I remember running up to one merchant and I could hear him talking and I couldn't see him, and then all of a sudden he sort of just popped up, and he wasn't even in the right place. He popped up somewhere that he wasn't meant to be. I don't know whether that was a problem with the game itself that would have been fixed on the Xbox One or what, but I feel like I'm definitely going to suffer from that sort of thing when I play older games like this, you know, where the hardware can't quite handle it. Some people will go out and spend £60 or £70 on a new release, take it home, maybe they will enjoy it, maybe they won't, and let's just assume they bought the disc version so they can go and trade it in or sell it on once they're finished with it, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But those type of people often won't look at older consoles and older games that they've never played before. If they've missed it and it passed them by, oh well, never mind. But whereas I, and I'm sure you, differ, is that we're happy to go back and look at the older stuff, and for just £23, which I'm actually hoping is only going to be about 13 quid if Chivalry can sell for a tenner, I have just got hours and hours of entertainment there. I mean, okay, not everyone is going to enjoy playing through Football Manager 2006, but I will happily sink hours into that game. Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen is going to take me a long time to finish. And then you've got the two Prince of Persias, which is great story. Eat Lead is comedy relief. I know a lot of people are not going to like it, but give it a try if you've never played it, especially if you like Duke Nukem. And of course, there's Splinter Cell if I want to throw the controller at the wall. If you'd like to watch another video where I'm probably walking around CEX for 4 hours, you can click here, and until the next time, goodbye.